We here.
We are here. So I'm going to be part of a adoptee panel that's going to be speaking to a group of parents here at Korean Culture School for Asia families. And I could not be more excited. Thank you.
Last night, though.
Hey,
Welcome.
Thank you so much.
You got here last night?
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, I know. Everything's safe and sound.
It was good. It was fast.
Happy to be here.
Way fast. No, you're kind of fast.
Excited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was nice.
Glad you got here safely.
Get over here.
Oh man.
How are you? Good. How's it going? Good to see you. Thank you for coming down.
My pleasure. My
That's
pleasure.
awesome.
No, I'm very excited.
Great.
We have a lot to share today.
Yeah.
All right.
I think so. We'll see
Okay.
what questions are asked. But
All right.
will be the longest discussion I think been a part of. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
All right. Hard question.
No, please.
We're gonna
You're
give
gonna
you
I'm
softballs.
I'm asking hard questions.
Okay.
I have a long list of
Oh,
questions.
please. Oh my God, there's so much, even in the short time since this summer has changed. I can't share.
All right. Awesome.
I am so honored to have you as my facilitator for Adult Adoptee Panel discussion. Nada Shoemaker, she traveled from Pennsylvania, Bedford, Pennsylvania this morning. She's been serving as a mentor for adult adoptees during the Asia Families Korea Bridge tours for the past 2 years. So we are honored to have you, and I'm gonna give you the microphone.
Was this already on? Yeah. Okay, perfect. Sorry, people always think I'm more adept at these things. I'm really not. Eric's always telling me what to do with this stuff. So my name's Christopher Poirier, and I was born in Seoul, South Korea. Currently living in Boston, Massachusetts. And so a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, like what you're doing now with your job.
Yeah, gotcha. So best way I could say that, I guess, is I'm a fitness entrepreneur, and many probably know this. I'm an American Ninja Warrior. Many things I do involve fitness, and I mean that's pretty much the gist of it, I guess I could say. Yeah.
Thanks, Chris. And he really has a very interesting blog.
I'm Caitlin Anzalone. I was born in Busan, South Korea. I grew up in McLean, up here in Northern Virginia, but I currently live in Richmond, Virginia. I actually just moved there. My house isn't even unpacked yet. And I'm an occupational therapist.
My name's Amy Moy. I was born in Gyeongju in South Korea, and I am a librarian by training. I work as a project manager for the federal government now, and I grew up in upstate New York, moved down here for grad school, and I'm on the board of the Adult Adoptee organization for DC, Adoption Links DC.
Thank you so much. So I think I'll start this out just to kind of give you some easier kind of questions. Tell us a little bit about your adoptive family background, and if you had opportunities to learn about the Korean culture or kind of how that maybe evolved within your own family. Chris, you want to just start?
Sure.
with
Yeah,
people
that's
down the
fine.
line?
That works. So I come from I could say this, I would say lower middle class Irish American family, and growing up didn't really have honestly any interest in learning about Korean culture for many years. My parents always, I remember when I got later on, started maturing in my teens, I would ask them why you never got me involved with anything like a Korean culture school like this. And they are always quick to remind me that the one time they tried to bring me, I was kicking and screaming, and I wanted to leave. This is when I think I was like 3 or 4 years old. And funny enough, after that, as I thought of that, I think what really evolved from there was over time, I just started to have more questions about myself. Not that I ever verbalized them and openly discussed them with anyone, but as I just started to grow and mature, I just had internal questions that I wanted to answer, and really just taking my own initiative in, even getting connected with Asia families, kind of started my own journey in terms of learning more about Korea and everything that comes with it.
So my family is a pretty big Italian family, at least on my dad's side. My mom's kind of a mutt, I guess you could say. But I do also, in my immediate family, I have a brother and a sister who are older than me who are also adopted from Korea. So all 3 of us were adopted from South Korea, but none of us are blood related. I'm trying to think of what else, family.
Yeah, it's kind of when you became interested in learning a little bit about the Korean culture, you became curious about that.
Mine kind of started, I guess, earlier, but just in smaller ways. Like, so projects at school, I would want to do a project about, a Korean tradition or something like that. And we also did projects on Italian traditions and that kind of stuff, but that's probably when it really kind of started. One of the things I really loved what my mom did is that from a very young age, my mom let us look at our adoption files, and I, probably of the 3 of my siblings and I was the one who looked at them the most. Just for fun, my very first baby picture is in there and stuff like that, and just like reading about that. So that was something I did pretty regularly, and even though I knew the information, I wanted to pull it back out. So that was just an ongoing conversation with my family. And then probably as I started to get a little bit older, people had asked if I was interested in doing a birth family search, and I really wasn't ready as a younger teenager, but as I started to get older into college, and a little bit afterwards is really probably when I really started to think about it.
So I am adopted into a really kind of mixed family. My mom's family came here on the Mayflower, and my dad is Irish-German, but they always, I think, like to include that we're a Korean-Irish-German family. So my brothers aren't adopted, they're biological to my parents, and one of the things that I think is a little different is that my parents made the attempt to do Korean activities as a whole family. So it wasn't like, oh, now we're doing something just for Amy, and now we're gonna just do something Korean. It was, my brothers went to Korean culture camp, my parents volunteered at it. We had Korean foreign exchange students, and when we had younger ones, my brothers really liked that because they got to experience like my brother's 21st birthday party, and they were graduate students studying social work that the woman who started the Korean adoption program at my agency in Albany, New York, brought over. So it was always a family activity, doing Korean culture things, even though we lived super far out. My parents always made an attempt to go to the University at Albany and go to events, or we went to things down in New York City, like AKA New York is an adoptee organization there, and my oldest brother used to bring me down for events.
moments and experiences they have that they're not equipped to handle. I'm not saying that you may even have experience, but even just them being able to openly discuss it would be very important for them. And I think of microaggressions, racism, bigotry, like all some things that for adoptees are a little unique because everything can be applied to us even all at one time. It's important to understand the differences between all of them because something can be, for example, racial, doesn't exactly make it racist, but you can have the topic about ethnic background and culture and traditions that may be unique to us, where racism I look at as a completely isolated kind of experience I guess an adoptee can go through where that's more of a reflection on the other person, not them. Because if they're racist to us as an adoptee, that means they're racist to any person of color from that respect. And then in terms of microaggressions, I think that's really just important for, this, again, like open lines of communication for them. I can think back to many times when I was younger that, talking about me, little Chris, like when I would say awful things to my parents in terms of wishing that I wasn't adopted, wishing they never took me from Korea, many comments such as that, and that only stemmed from questions and anger I had that I wasn't able to answer about myself because of the questions that I would experience when I would be in school. And because there's a difference between being asked like an actual question about or under adoption and then being bullied or then being teased or then having someone say something ignorant, they're having an ignorant experience surrounding your adoption. And those, whenever that happens, it's not like you can really prepare yourself for when that does, not emotionally developed enough. You can, a lot of times can lash out, and what I've seen with, and even felt myself, those type of moments, not able to discuss them with anyone, that can evolve over time. We can hold those emotions so close to us and just keep them bottled up for many years and years and years. So I think, along with that, no matter what happens, you may not be able to speak from experience, but just create that dialogue, let them know, like, again, it is either a traumatic experience or however they're feeling, it's okay for them to feel like that. And as long as they can just express themselves would be important.
I just wanted to add that I think having discussion around stereotypes, where they come from, like racial slurs or slurs that, because the kids, the first time they hear them is from other people. So if you're not discussing it, they're totally blindsided and they have no idea what those mean or where they come from. And I think it's another thing to discuss that, like, if they want to talk to someone else or get help or support, like, that's a show of strength and that's available. Like, we're in a really robust area with lots of different resources, and that if one resource that they try isn't working out, like, there's others out there and other resources available that you can try. So talking to someone, getting support, like, I think that's also giving them that option and letting them know that is also important.
And I know I'm facilitating, but I do want to say something about this really quickly to parents. As parents, all children, I don't care what race or ethnicity they are, go through that teen angst, the middle school, the 5th grade on. So I think one thing that's important to remember is while adoptees have kind of another layer to that, it's also important to remember that your kids are going to be those teens, like the couple back here would say, you know, they're not going to necessarily tell you what's going on. They may, you know, just like any teenager wouldn't, or young adult wouldn't. So remember that in the context of the fact that they're great kids, and some of those actions are just what happened with kids anyway. But again, you know, these things that they're talking about up here are layered by thoughts. And
we're gonna show you with the Korean sign language. Thank you.
I don't even know what it is.
차렷, 인사. 오케이, 아야어여부터. 잠깐만요. 잠깐만요. 오케이, 아야어여부터 시작. 아야, 거여, 우유, 아야, 어여, 우유, 으이. 아야, 어여, 우유, 으이. 오케이, ready?
Place the filling in the center. Top of the lovely press. Put on the lid and press it down. Take a piece of seaweed and keep the and keep the plastic wrap on. Push the rest onto the sheet. Fold up the sides of the seaweed and seal the triangle.
Today, I'd like to present a special award. It's called Presidential Volunteer Service Award. We have someone who qualified the hours. She volunteered for Asia Families as well as another student organization in Montgomery College. And she volunteered past year 120 hours. So she qualified for bronze level. Miss Natalie Sedikiro, please come forward. And I'd like to thank all the teachers, but Eunjung, please come. She's gonna thank all the teachers and volunteers, but she has been such a dear and faithful, serving as a cultural school director. Thank you so much, Eunjung. Can I? She's expecting a baby. We're so thrilled. We'd like to see your baby next year. So let's go ahead and thank our volunteers and teachers.
Thank you so much. I really like to appreciate all my teachers and volunteers. Without them, it could not happen. I really appreciate. Every session, I ask them, oh, can you do this? Can you do this? Everyone is absolutely. They never say no. So without them, it's not happening at all. So I really appreciate our teachers and volunteers. All the volunteers and teachers, can you stand up?
Thank you guys. It was a great session, really. I always
feel like
learned
there's
so
enough
much.
time.
Yeah, I know. I could keep going on. And I'm like writing notes. I'm thinking, I gotta go talk to my kids right now about some of these things. I get like sort of that, like, okay, we get discussion. I need it. And of course, that's not the way they want you to come at it. It needs to be like organic and natural. But I feel this urgency when I, hear something that really. Yeah, exactly. I know.
So that's probably one of the most important aspects of my life, but really just anything that I realized that I'm going to be doing, honestly, for the rest of my life, I always look at, when I always hear people talk about, making a difference, or whether it's community work or wishing things were different, there's a big difference between talking about it and actually doing it. And this type of thing is not really, it's a time commitment, but then it's not a time commitment as well when you think about the bigger macro perspective of how much time it takes to come down and be a part of this. Even though I was speaking at it, I volunteered a number of times, even with this organization, and doing any type of volunteer work, in reality, really doesn't take up too much of one's time if we look at it on a weekly, monthly, yearly, even life basis. And I love being able to not just give back, but in many ways, I hope this shows others that if you want to make a difference or even contribute to that on some level, it's really simple. It just takes a little bit of your time. And that's all. And when it comes to things that you love and you're passionate about, and a group of people that you have an affection and a connection with, it makes it that much more fun. I love doing this. Can't wait to do this more. So now just going to go meet up with another very close adopted family of mine, catch up with them, see how they're doing. Always have so much to talk about every time we get together, and we'll be on from there.
If you want to do things, you're just gonna have to either deal with it, or you're just gonna have to deal with it. I realized I did not want to deal with it.
So I took myself out of there.
It's like,